What is up, party people? It's your boys, Birds of a Feather. I'm your boy, OGP. We got Jake down there. We got PY over there, Connor down there. We got Chucks over here. Brought to you by the beautiful people over at A2D Radio. Like, share, subscribe, A2D Radio on all social platforms. Anywhere you can digest your media, whether that's video or audio. Maybe have something for your ASMR, you know what I mean? Because PY can make some noises or whatever else like that. Whatever it is. But we're here with you on a beautiful Tuesday night here in the Delaware Valley. So, boys, as you know, always, and the fam out there, you always know we're brought to you by Alonzi Travel, specialized in creating a vacation of your dreams at Disney Universal, wherever your heart calls you. Let a talented team of travel experts create a custom vacation just for you. Those are the main sponsor. As always, we go with the kickoff statement for tonight's show. Rob Pove, not Hot Pove, excuse me, pause. Rob Pove here with the hot tag comment. The Eagles will have a top 5 offense in 2024 under Kellen Moore. Agree or disagree? I'm going to lead us off tonight. If everything play, they will have a top 5 offensive diversity. I'll put it like that. As far as the stats, where they line up, where they end after 18 weeks of the regular season, 17 games, 18 weeks for those with the bye. I'm gonna agree to the poll. I'm gonna agree. I'm gonna agree to the kickoff statement because I think the pieces are already there. The minds are now there. They just have to kind of do it. But the biggest weakness of our team on the offensive side is running back and third wide receiver.
Yep.
Very, very, very underrated. You've seen what these teams did that played in the championship week. Now going to the Super Bowl. Chiefs is a little bit different, bro. Like the Chiefs is just a smidge different. Like both teams in the Super Bowl, we'll get to it. This a little lucky to be there. They should find themselves a little lucky to be there. We'll get into a little bit more.
Chiefs or the Niners?
One team was really lucky. One team just was really, really good and much better than everyone else.
We'll get to that. We'll get to that. Let's say that for the second half of the show. But I like the signing of both coordinators. I know specifically we're talking about the kickoff statement with Kellen Moore. Proven play caller, young, has been doing it for a while, has seen a lot of football, has done it with a different array of complement on the offensive side. And I want to say, even though we have a foundation, right, with our offense, our offensive line, our quarterback, some would say, who is not getting enough blame as he should. But with the wide receivers from Devontae, who we've seen that he could be unlocked now a little bit more. We're expecting big things from him, a contract year. And then with AJ, but even though he doesn't like to run the ball a lot, he'll need to run it some more. But what I've seen these whole playoffs is our running back position. This isn't good enough. I love Swift, but wait your turn. Wait your turn. You have the floor. You wait your turn. So what I'm saying is I don't see Swift being better than Montgomery. I like Montgomery in Chicago. I don't see Swift being better than Gibbs. I don't see Swift being better than Christian McCaffrey. But it also goes a lot into what scheme is there and how they're using them as well. But we've seen that all year, right? So hopefully with Kellen Moore, even if they stick with Swift, who's going to cost money, because honestly, let's be real. Right now on this roster, going into the 2024 to 2025 season, you have Kenneth Gainwell. That's it.
Yep.
They're going to bring in another back here, whether that be re-sign Swift, maybe sign someone in free agency, or maybe draft one, right?
Re-sign Penny.
No, definitely not that option. I think signings like that, I think those times are over. To where it's like, let's take another team's trash and try to make it our treasure to see if they got anything left in the tank. I think those days are done. I think those days are done because of the coordinators that you have now in place on both defense and offense. But specifically speaking to the offense, this is what we're going to see. Even Jaren is already on it. Go back to under center. You're going to have some play actions. You're going to have some boots. You're going to have some rollouts. Have things to accentuate the skill positions that you have on this team to make that talent already put them in better positions, because the talent is the talent, right? And the talent was asked to succeed with a shitty scheme and really not create as much separation as they could. Now with this, they were able to succeed in that fashion, right? But now with this type of offensive coordinator and what Nick has, or whatever he's bringing to the table, whatever capacity, the mesh systems, I think they definitely have the tools to be a top 5 offense. I'm gonna send it to Chuck's next. I'm gonna say yes. I'm gonna say PY for last. I'm gonna send it to you because obviously I know you're gonna disagree with my running back statement. So, and then you could answer the kickoff statement. Then you could take it for wherever you want to take it.
Well, and then let's make this clear. Are you, because toward the end when you were saying the only one under contract is Kenny Gainwell. So like,
if I'm not mistaken, I could be wrong.
No. You are right. You're right.
Okay.
So if you're just taking that into account, then I agree. Like, well, and then also if you're taking into account like the whole running back room, then I have no problem with what you said. If you're saying that DeAndre Swift can't be as good as like a obviously not as good as CMC. He's the number 1 back in the league. Jahmyr Gibbs, I'll give you Jahmyr Gibbs. All right, I'll even give you Jahmyr Gibbs.
I cross-checked Montgomery.
David Montgomery, like that's where you kind of that's where you kind of
that's where he draws the line in the sand.
Yeah, I'm like you know what I mean. So like I think that again, I would never say that Swift is an elite back, but he's in that second tier. If you have an elite tier of running backs, he's that tier below it. So I think that, and you can obviously say that you can win with really good running backs at that tier as your lead. So, if we bring Swift back, I think him as our RB1 is more than good enough. I think though you have to consider getting, upgrading the room overall. All right. So I get what you're saying overall, and I don't disagree. I just wanted to make sure we're clear on Swift, where Swift lies, because he's super talented. But I absolutely agree to the poll. There's a lot of stuff we can discuss about Kellen Moore. There's like, I know we've talked about it since Saturday night, like all the stuff that he brings. Kellen Moore is such a good. He for the Eagles specifically, I think he was the ideal candidate. He wasn't the top of my list personally, but if you're objectively looking at what the Eagles needed, he is what the Eagles ideally needed. Now, when I say that, you got to look at. We were talking. There were rumors about Cliff Kingsbury, and we talked about it last week, right? And we already mentioned how that would be a dumb hire because he does everything pretty much that there would be nothing new if he were to come into this offense. Nothing new. Like it would all be the same. He doesn't bring any fresh ideas to the Eagles offense of what they do now. And a lot of the things that he struggled with in Arizona during the end of his tenure there, it's the same problems that we had this past year. So he doesn't bring anything. Now, for my personal candidate, I told you guys Bobby Slowick probably be my guy because he's from that Kyle Shanahan tree. And that Shanahan offense is what's in right now. And I love that. I love that progressive mindset and the philosophy that the Shanahan guys bring to an offense. So that was my end. But if you bring in a guy like Slowick to be your OC or someone from that tree, right, you're talking about that might have been a little bit too extreme because you're talking about pretty much overhauling the offense because it's a totally different type of philosophy and a totally different type of scheme than what we run now. It's like the other end of the spectrum, right? But when you have a guy like Kellen Moore, he's that happy medium because he does a lot of things that we do now, similar concepts, ideals, being a shotgun, spread it out a little bit, but he expands beyond that too. He does go under center. He does use a lot of motion. I believe I don't like there were stats that had conflicting rankings, but the Chargers ranked anywhere between 6th and 8th in motion usage last season. So Moore loves motion. He does some running concepts like duo and outside zone that Stoutland doesn't use. So he's going to bring those with him too. And most importantly, he does things to scheme guys open in different ways. Like, there were a lot of things that, our favorite anonymous Twitter account, Honest NFL, he put out so much. So if you're on Twitter, go check out his account. He put out so much in terms of details of X and O's, what Kellen Moore does. But what you're seeing overall is he makes sure that the QB has reads and answers for everything. When it comes to the blitz, when it comes to different looks, he's going to make the QB's job easier because he knows how to scheme guys open in various different ways. And that is so important. Like, is he perfect? No, because we talk about, like, everyone's mentioned how he kind of gets away from the run, and that's absolutely fair. He's not the best run game mind out there, so that's perfectly fine. But in terms of what we need, he's going to be able to take our playbook.
Mhm.
You don't have to overhaul it. You just have to build upon what you have, and he's the guy that can do that in a modern offense kind of way. People talk to me, would ask, like, what kind of offense does he run? What kind of scheme does he run? He started off as like a West Coast thing, or like kind of base, but he's always been molding it. Every single year, it's evolved, it's changed, and that's what you need. Like, you need a guy like that that's going to be able to always adjust and change the scheme up as needed, to make it friendly for your quarterback and your weapons. So I absolutely agree to the point. I think that we all know the type of talent we have on offense. I know we have to upgrade at wide receiver 3, and we have to upgrade the running back room. But in terms of receiving offenses, receiving weapons, we still have so much talent. We still have an amazing offensive line, whether or not Jason Kelce comes back. So we have the talent on offense. With Kellen Moore being able to inject new ideas and expand and evolve this scheme, I absolutely do believe. I go a step further. I say we have a top 3 offense in the NFL next year. I'm not even going to limit it to top 5. I say top 3. So agree to the poll.
A heck of an endorsement, but I'm right there with you. I mean, you have the horses, right? I mean, aside from running back, whoever that might be, if they bring Swift back, draft a guy, whatever. I mean, you have the horses, and I think the main thing is to getting Jalen back to what he was in 2022, and I think they will do that with, obviously, given some of the coaching hires that they've made so far, which, in my opinion, I think a lot of us can agree have been fantastic. So, yeah, they can absolutely be a top 5 offense. Absolutely. I'll agree with the poll. It's just a matter of upgrading wide receiver 3 and getting Jalen right and getting that running back position squared away. But yeah, they totally have all the tools to be successful. If anyone remembers back when AJ was in Tennessee, they ran a lot of motion when he was in Tennessee, and AJ Brown had a lot of success in Tennessee coming out of motion. So you're going to see a lot of that. And like I think Pete said it earlier, Devontae Smith is going to be unlocked this year. Just the contract year, new offensive coordinator who's going to work to Devontae's strengths. It's going to be a huge, huge year for Devontae Smith.
Yeah. PY.
Yes. Yes, 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 1,000 times yes. I wanted him last year, and I got told I was crazy. Not even just like on this here, but like Twitter was just like, oh, we can't go out and get a former Cowboy. That's lunacy. Like, are you serious? Like,
What's lunacy?
I don't know. It's lunacy. He's trying to say
lunacy is the word you're looking
lunacy.
for.
I meant to say lunacy. See, give me a break. I may or may not have COVID, so give me some credit here.
How do you get COVID when you say it now? I was about to say you got a job. You're working now, so see what happens.
He's sick again. Shocker.
Yeah, probably. Lunacy.
Unemployed, healthy on a treadmill 3 hours a day. Go back to work. Your immune system goes to shit.
Yeah, he is so smart. And Cowboy fans want to talk about what an idiot he is. It's not his fault that in the playoffs your quarterback became a turnover machine. Like, it's not his fault that he wanted to gift everyone passes. Like, I don't know what to tell you with that one. Like, he is a very smart coordinator. He does tons of motion. They were 8th last year with the Chargers. They were 8th in motion, which is insane. We were 32. He's a very creative guy. You're gonna see Jalen understand more, which I'm gonna love. You're gonna see guys get open with creative play calling to where they're not running into each other like they are this year. You're not going to see Quez Watkins screens going nowhere. You're not going to see Julio Jones screens going nowhere. You might actually see creative and smart motion plays. You might actually see running back pass plays that don't go for like 1 yard, and QB draws that go for a yard, at like 3rd and 14, like stuff like that. You're just not going to see that. Like he's probably one of the smartest young up and coming minds in football right now. And he had major success in Dallas. It just didn't go his way because he had the horses in Dallas. It's just the coach was an idiot. And the second he was gone, he got thrown under the bus by Mike McCarthy. He's like, whoa, you know what? We wanted to run the football, and Kellen Moore didn't want us to do that, even though the year he left, they were 6th in rushing.
Right.
Make that make sense. They've had multiple 1,000-yard running backs.
They ran less. They ran less without him. They ran less.
I saw someone talk about this, like, oh, you know, we got so much better without Kellen Moore. He held us back in terms of running, and I'm like, they were like middle of the pack in like every category. The only top 10 thing they were in was fumbles. That was literally the only top 10 thing in terms of running the football this year. They were top 10 in. Like. Right. For someone who cares so much about running the football, Mike McCarthy did a very bad job at it. And I think that's the one complaint I see about Kellen Moore. They're like, oh, you know, with him here, we're not going to run the football, which makes no sense to me because they had major success running the football in Dallas. They had major success on offense with Dak Prescott. Dak set the touchdown record for the Cowboys with Kellen Moore as his offensive coordinator. Like this notion that like, he is brilliant until the playoffs happen is insane to me. When we've seen what happens when Dak goes to the playoffs. He didn't even have Kellen Moore this year. And he's
still the same old Dak.
Yeah, turned into a pumpkin. This is who he is. Dak, you know what's most impressive about Kellen Moore? They went 4-1 with who's that?
Cooper Rush.
Yeah, Cooper Rush. Exactly. They went 4-1 with Cooper Rush where they were averaging 30 points a game. With Cooper Rush, of all people. Like, you can't sit here and tell me that he's not an impressive play caller when he does that. With this team, with this O-line, with this quarterback, with these wide receivers, with this tight end, and possibly even more weapons to be added, yes, it's going to be a top 5 offense. Anything less is a failure, and I don't think it's going to be a failure. I think it's going to be a massive success. Yeah,
barring any injury.
Yeah, I mean, to expand on that, like, the funny thing is, the Cowboys when with this past year under Mike McCarthy, if you look at like what they were doing and their schemes, like they didn't improve scheme wise. Like what McCarthy was doing, it wasn't really better schematically than what Kellen Moore was running. What McCarthy did well and why their offense was so successful is McCarthy, like a few games into the season, was like, okay, enough of this. Let's just force feed CeeDee Lamb the ball, which is a good thing. Mm-hmm. I'm not saying it's a bad thing. I am giving Mike McCarthy credit for that because when you have a guy like CeeDee Lamb, that's what you should be doing. Like he said, he's going to be the focal point of our offense. Let's make it. And so they literally drew stuff up for CeeDee Lamb to get him the ball. And if he wasn't open, then they went to what's their tight end's name? No, I can't remember.
Jake Ferguson.
The tight end. Jake Ferguson, right? They went to Jake Ferguson, where they went to Brandon Cooks later in the year. So, like, it's not so much that they schematically got better and McCarthy was doing better things in terms of creative-wise. It was more so, like, they knew where their bread was supposed to be buttered, and they went to it. And they get credit for that, but that's where you have to distinguish it. You have to distinguish the two. Is you can't just say their offense got worse. You have to really dissect them like, okay, like they got worse. I mean, you can't say the offense got better. I'm sorry. The offense got better because of their philosophy, not because of the scheme. That you know what I mean? So it's something that you definitely have to point out.
Yeah. No, and then I want to like no more high school offenses going through some of the commentary. Greg Miller chiming in. There was also I want to get to this one. So I think Jesse is a Cowboys fan. Here's the difference. Here's the difference.
No, he's a miserable Eagles fan.
He's an Eagles fan. Okay.
Yeah, he's always
the reason I say this is because, and we saw Honest NFL, you kind of spoke to it already, right? This is the most anti-Sirianni philosophy OC that they interviewed. Mm-hmm. Where Kellen does, if Sirianni goes right at the fork in the road, Kellen Moore is going left. I can't say he doesn't beat good defenses, and that's the take you want to have. Cool. We know Sirianni, when shit is going right, he does. So that's the thing. The marriage of the two concepts and what they come out, like Sirianni said in his press conference last Wednesday, he said, this is going to be the Philadelphia Eagles offense. This isn't Kellen Moore's offense. It's Kellen Moore philosophies being brought to the table. It's Sirianni's philosophies being brought to the table. Then out of that, they are going to make a baby, which is now going to be the Philadelphia Eagles offense, right?
Mm-hmm.
So from there, if you give me what Kellen Moore, some of what he does, you give me what Sirianni does and makes it better, right? And accentuates on that, and you put them together, you're going to get something, right? We're not going to see just 4 routes from A.J. Brown, crossers, digs, and 9 routes. You're going to see more posts. You're going to see crossers. You're going to see Devontae in motion. You're going to see situations to where it's going to allow our talent to get in the open position. One of the biggest things is I think it was over the middle of the field, Justin Herbert was against the blitz, had an 86% completion rate.
Yep.
In that game against the Vikings. The things that we've been looking for, right? On paper, Kellen Moore answers and he checks those boxes. So if that correlates to the field, barring any injuries or setbacks, and you get there healthy, yes, it is the prospectus to be a top 5 offense. I will also say this: the offensive line does have to also play better as well. That is something that needs to happen. I don't know if they're the best offensive line of football anymore. I mean, I don't even know how to say they are not the best offensive line of football. The best offensive line of football is not even playing in the Super Bowl because they got sent home last Sunday night, and that was the Detroit Lions offensive line.
Yep.
You know what I mean? So that also has to get better. But with that being said, Jalen has to take a step to get better. But just from a philosophical coaching aspect, they are working with more than what they were going into last season with.
Mm-hmm.
He's young. He's seen a lot. It's a pro-style offense. None of this college stuff. You can have some of that iterations, but the foundation isn't going to be that. And he knows how to use talent. And he has seen other places now. So even once he left Dallas, you know what I mean? Even once he left Dallas, now going to Los Angeles to coach of the Chargers, he was around a different skill set. He had to think of things differently. So I'm definitely happy with the hire. I think all of us are happy with the hire. It wasn't the guy that was standing out to us, but you remember the press conference was Wednesday, and by Sunday, both coordinator positions were filled.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? So we haven't even talked about the Fangio one. I think the Fangio one has been talked about ad nauseum, but it's one thing it's one thing to have a guy who was a chef like Thomas Keller, or a chef like Gordon Ramsay, or a chef like Michael Simon, or anyone like that. But when then you have the actual chef cooking the meal, it's different, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we all can say with Fangio, he's going to make competent play out of less than competent talent. And yeah, we have to go out and fill it, right? But with the offenses and the defense as a whole, this team is better suited to use the assets that they have. Right, we can already see it with the defensive line hire, Clint Hurt. We already seen his name come out. He looks like Thanos' father. You know, he looks like Thanos' dad. And then also with the what was the DB's
Carl
coach?
Scott.
Just hired? As a Carl Scott. So it's like just on paper. Here's the one thing I will say, right? We can all sit here and get hyped and be excited, but a part of me still is reserved. They still have to prove it on the field.
Yep.
But I do have more confidence of who is now doing the job versus where I was at. Well, where we were at this time last year was completely different because we were prepping to play the Super Bowl.
Right.
But going into the offseason from a coaching standpoint, after all the dust was settled about the Super Bowl, after losing Shane Steichen, after losing Jonathan Gannon, having Brian Johnson, having Sean Desai, listen, I would take this over that. It sucks that we had to go through what we went through to get to this point.
Mm-hmm.
But through that pain comes success. Just ask Detroit. Hell, listen, honestly, just ask Detroit. They went through 30-plus years and not winning the playoff game, not even being in the playoff game, to win it 2, and should be playing next Sunday.
Mm-hmm.
Should be playing next Sunday. Obviously, they're not, but I say this all the time. It's more prevalent in basketball. You have to learn how to win. You have to go through your lumps. You have to go through your pain to learn how to win. That goes for players. That goes for coaches. You know what I
Zay
mean?
Flowers. Look at
So
Zay
Zay
Flowers.
Flowers, Patrick Queen,
Butterfingers.
Roquan Smith, all those. And the reason why I say that about the Chiefs, and then I'll save it. But I'll save it. So
Yeah.
anything else on our kickoff statement?
Well, I think. Well, to expand on what you were saying, I think it's because I know you were talking about a lot, Pete. How you wanted experience, right? And you wanted a guy that wouldn't be moving on necessarily to, or be interested to be grabbed to a head coaching job. To get us to a point where we're looking for another coordinator a year or two from now. I think that one for the defensive side, we absolutely got that. Like Vic Fangio probably isn't looking to be a head coach again. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
He's 60 something years old. He's been a head coach already. That ship has sailed for him. He likes what he's doing. So I think we are safe with Fangio. Could be with us for the next several years. As barring what happens to Sirianni,
this generation's Jim Johnson.
Exactly. He could be, yeah. And on the offensive side, and I told you guys this, I found out this stat, I think, on Sunday, and I immediately told you guys. I didn't know about it, but every offensive coordinator in the league has only been in their position since 2022. No earlier than that. So this league, the offensive coordinator position, there's going to be turnover, no matter what. It's always going to be turnover. So I don't think that's avoidable, so Chef Boyardee. It's unavoidable, but I think for right now, what you get out of Kellen Moore is a very good start, because say he gets snagged next, say we have success 2024, he gets snagged to a head coaching job, right? Next season, at least you have a good foundation of, okay, this is what Kellen Moore put in. Now we can take that. Now who's going to be the next offensive coordinator to keep building upon that? So that's where your line of succession, which we touched on last week, how it's so important. That's where that comes in. So this is a good start because you introduce new philosophies into the scheme and into what they're doing in order to set yourself up for the future. So I think that's very important. I think, again, if you had told me last year that these were our offensive coordinators, I would have been so excited. And Vic was supposed to be. He was supposed to be our defensive coordinator. So I'm ecstatic over these. And if you guys were to give the grade, we'll do this for the end of the second segment when we talk about Vic. If you guys were to give a grade on the hiring of Kellen Moore, what would you give it?
B.
Yeah, I'll say B.
B plus.
I'm gonna say B plus. B plus. At most A minus. The one thing I don't think is not so much being talked about. The perspective of what I've seen is Kellen Moore has more experience of doing this than Sirianni.
Yes.
So now if Sirianni, everything he's been through this offseason, everything he went through the last 8 weeks of the season, right? You got to be on it now from a head coach point to be a CEO type of head coach, but also be in that room. You should be absorbing you should be a sponge as well. So if you find yourself in this position again, like he said, I need to improve. I need to do things better. I just don't want him in this offseason to focus on how can I delegate better? How can I make myself better as a CEO coach? Right. Also be absorbent, be listening, take some of these keys, because like you said, Kellen Moore hasn't been given a head coaching opportunity. If he has success here, chances are he's going to want what that tastes like. Now it's different. We just saw Ben Johnson, Bobby Sloyd. They stayed where they were at. You see what I'm saying? They stayed in their roles because for whatever reason, whether it be a higher pay, comfortability for their family, if it's something wanting to finish the job, finish the story, close that loop, try to get back and have more success to the next level that they didn't have this season. That's something that you really haven't seen in the last couple of years, right? So you haven't seen that from the standpoint of these hot coordinators in the coaching cycles for the past 2 or 3 years. When these dudes are offered head coaching positions, they take them. So we may be seeing a trend to where, hey, you know what? If true leaders, right? True leaders. We're going to find a lot about Sirianni now because Campbell, true leader. D'Amico Ryans, true leader. Don't get me wrong, Slower got a pay bump, probably also Ben Johnson. But at the same time, those coordinators felt I don't know if it's a loyalty to the team, to the players, to the coach, but something there wanted to make them stay in their current situations. You see what I'm saying? So we need to create a culture like that. I wouldn't even be shocked if Mike Macdonald chooses to stay in Baltimore versus taking the Seattle job, because that Baltimore culture is different. It's just different, and you have a lot. He built that. Well, I keep telling people. I tell people last week, hey, we were talking about last week. Wink Martin, how would you like Wink for your DC? Wink was moved on from for a reason.
Yep.
You see what I'm saying? Wink was moved on from for a reason. So you're even if we say, let's say this, right? If you didn't have Sirianni as your head coach, say they brought in somebody else, and then they brought, and your coordinators are still Kellen Moore and Vic Fangio, still feel good. You still feel halfway decent, because the one thing we didn't have, we don't have to worry about if these guys have done this before. We don't worry about if they have a feel for calling plays in the game on the defensive side or on the offensive side.
Yeah.
They have done it.
Yep. Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? They have done it. So when they have done it, not to have that concern or that question makes you just feel somewhat at ease. Your guard's not down. My guard is no way down to let me be a pushover and walk all over top of me. But I'm at ease. My guard, the rigidity, the density of my guardrail that I have up may have softened a little bit. It's not, you know what I mean? It's not as hard. It's a pause. It's just softened a little bit. You feel what I'm saying? So, but yeah, that's it. I mean, it's half an hour of the show going. We kind of talked about a lot. The enemy is still under contract. If I'm the Commanders now, what Ben Johnson did to them today, I'm hiring Mike Vrabel. I'm calling it a day, and I'm keeping Eric Bieniemy as my OC.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Easy. That's the easiest route to me, because you have Vrabel, who's a proven leader of men. He can lead a locker room. He led it as a player. You see what I'm saying? And you have the enemy, so you have consistency within the offense, and they have talent there. So I don't know what's going on with Washington. They may hire Aaron Glenn.
They're a mess. That's all you need to know. They're a mess from top to bottom.
Well, so, my main thing, real quick, PY, real quick. So apparently, like, the whole bringing in the Detroit Lions OC to be their head coach, it was a money issue. But you bring in all these executives, and one of the top executives from basketball to help just change the culture in Washington. Yeah,
Mr. Joshua Harris.
No, Josh Harris. Yeah, Josh Harris.
But you brought in Magic Johnson too.
Oh, you're talking about okay.
Well, yeah, Magic Johnson. Then you have the guy from the Warriors. What the hell is his name?
Bob.
You know who I'm talking about, though?
No, Chuck probably won't know. Bob. What is his name?
Something. Yeah.
Bob Myers.
Yes, Bob Myers.
Yeah, Bob Myers brought him over from the NBA. He helped change the culture.
I think they hired him as a consultant just for the head coach search. So if anything, right?
No, but I'm saying my point is,
right,
like, you're paying all these guys, you're bringing all these guys in,
right?
But you don't want to pay your head coach.
So, what I've heard,
supposedly, I should say, supposedly that's the issue.
Yeah. So what I heard with that, it wasn't just like the Commanders who were nervous about the payday. It was a lot of teams where I think he valued himself a little too much. So the whole reason I think he stayed is because the money wasn't there, but also I think he knew that if he stayed and it turned out another good season and it doesn't end up like it did this year, you just get to add another zero to that check and be like, all right, who's cashing?
Yeah, especially if they win it all next year, which is definitely possible now that he's staying. So,
and he probably, let's not just ignore that. He probably really likes what they have in Detroit.
Oh, absolutely.
Same thing with Slowick. They like what they're building, and specifically with Slowick, it gives them another chance to grow and to learn. But people are. This is why, and we'll get into it in the second half. But the whole thing about Dan Campbell and all that, like, a bunch of baloney. There's no way that he comes back if he doesn't love what the situation with Dan. Dan Campbell deserves credit for building what they have in Detroit, and this is another testament to that.
Okay, you can just kick it down the road.
Oh my God, here we go again.
All right, let's pay some bills real quick. We'll come back on the other side. We'll get into the recap of the NFC Championship game, AFC Championship game, a little bit more of Vic Fangio. But right now, we're going to pay some bills from our beautiful A2D sponsors.
Royal Billiard and Recreation, proudly celebrating 40 years and our new, bigger showroom.
Twice the size and twice the fun.
More pool tables by Olhausen. More dartboard sets, including custom reclaimed backboards. More bar and kitchen stools that can change a room.
And more bars, including pre-built and custom.
Hot tubs, skee ball, shuffleboard, outdoor,
and fun.
Royal Billiard and Recreation, your ultimate game room store. Now located on Bethlehem Pike in Colmar.
In our family, food is our daily bond. My nonna, affectionately called Mama by many, found solace and joy in the kitchen, sharing her love through delicious creations. She turned her culinary passion into a flourishing business alongside her husband and sons in 1983. Celebrating 40 years is a testament to our exceptional team, friends, family, and beloved customers. With gratitude, we look forward to the future, expanding our brand to share the highest quality Italian food and wine nationwide. Our heartfelt thanks to everyone who has played a part in our story. Grazie mille.
Hats.com is the premier destination for quality and fashion-forward hats and more, with designs for every style and trend. Locally based and run by Philly sports team fanatics, Hats.com can help you elevate your hat John. Utilize the easy-to-use guides at Hats.com to find your perfect size and style, and shipping and returns are free. Hats.com. Find yourself in a hat. Use code Philly for 15% off your order. Hats.com.
Once again, shout out to all the beautiful sponsors: Carlino's, Royal Billiards, Hats.com. Spoken by, that was voiced by A2D's own Irvin Fryer, Eagles wide receiver, former Eagles wide receiver. Catch them vetted, him and Hollis Thomas on Thursdays. But
real quick, I want to get two questions that people had before.
There's a lot of draft questions that I just want you to run with these draft questions. Hit them all, then the rest of three of us.
Well, the overall, because Mr. Rudy asked Chuck's your running back guy. What do you think about Sion Vaki? And then Ray Williams says, "Can we get the New York running back?" He's probably talking about Saquon. Mr. Rudy Poo, I checked back with me in probably April. I just started my running back studying, my running back work, so I don't know anyone except for Blake Corum. Like, he's the only one I've done some work on so far. So I checked back with me in April, so in a couple months. But thank you for the question. Let me drop that name again later so I can answer that question. More reason to come back.
Real quick, Vaki is a two-way player, so he played running back and safety at Utah.
Oh, wow.
Interesting. Okay. Yeah. So
interesting.
So I think he's coming out as a running back.
Gotcha. And then Ray does ask about Saquon. If he's going to get the price tag that I believe he probably will, which is one of the higher paid running backs in this market, I'd say no. I'd rather have. I think Swift you can get at a better price, and I'd rather have Swift in that case. If all things are equal, if it's Swift and Saquon at the equal price, give me Saquon. Yeah. But I don't think that's going to be the price tag. I think it's going to be Saquon's going to demand a lot of money.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah.
All right. So second half of the show, any thoughts on that we want to expound on with Fangio real quick before we get into the conference championship games?
Oh, where do we freaking start? I feel like Fangio has been the more divisive hire between the two. So I mean, I don't even know where I unloaded so much on Twitter when it came to Fangio.
That was a fun read.
Yeah, there's a lot. Yeah. I think overall this is where I'll start, I guess. I just have an issue with people who don't know fully what they're talking about and then formulating an opinion based off stuff that's incorrect. Okay, people are assuming things about Fangio's scheme and about Fangio that just aren't true. They assume, it's going to be more soft coverage and never blitzing, and those are so incorrect. It's not the truth at all. About it. I posted on Twitter and on Facebook the article by Sean Syed from Sumer Sports. He did pretty much a deep dive explanation of what the Fangio scheme is, and if you read that,
Fangio, right?
Book of Fangio. Yeah, just look it up. It's right now it's going for free. So you can read it for free, no charge. I definitely advise you reading it so you can understand what's going on. But like this notion that it's all soft coverage and never blitzing is so incorrect. So do your homework before you have an opinion. And if you go into it with an open mind and you study what Fangio and his defense is, and you still are hesitant, I understand. That's fine. That is perfectly fine. But for you to base your opinions on things that are not true and that are not correct about what he does, that's where I have an issue with. Like, do your homework before you speak on something, because there's so many things that are on it are floating out that the media throws out, and they're just misguided. They're not true, and it's annoying. So that's where I'll start, is like get to know what he really is all about, what the scheme does, before you say something about it.
Yeah, I agree. It's just there's not, just because there's poor performance against one team or they didn't have success. If they had that much success, he wouldn't have been available, right? Something had to happen to where players weren't vibing with him. We heard that from Dante Whitner. We heard that he wanted to be closer to home. We heard that there was a lot of complaints to Mike McDaniel. And hell, I mean, Miami is Miami. Fangio is going to hold you accountable. I think he's 66 years old,
65, I think,
something like that.
So, yeah, like it's like he's going to hold you accountable, right? So for that type of player, if that's not your coaching style, here's the thing: our guys are young; they're not established. Miami Dolphins had a lot of veteran players, and then the one that they didn't have with Jerome Baker, I think they also had David Long. You also have Alex Anzalone. Anzalone's a free agent. I would love to see Anzalone here with the Eagles. That's a building block player, because guess what? Under Fangio, he had his best year, and that best year is probably going to get him paid to see another contract. You know what I mean? So, and they went from, I think, a Brian Flores based type of defense to Fangio, which is completely different, opposite ends of the spectrum and scheme. It's just different things, right? So it's not going to be the end all to be all here, but I will tell you this, and if you ever get a chance, a good listen would be Philly Special. I think they dropped it this morning. Chuck, I don't know if you listened to it yet. You probably already did. The Sean Syed one, where they talk about Fangio, and they go very, very deep into the fact of what his language is as far as his defense.
He's the one that wrote it. He's the one that wrote the article.
He wrote it, and then also the verbiage that he uses on how he wants his defensive tackles to play. Guess who that suits? That suits Jordan Davis and Jalen Carter, the future of your team, because they kind of ran something similar at Georgia, where they had the most success. So, and the safety plays there, the corners could be a little hit a little bit more, but we all want safety play, right? So now Howie has to now make the investment from a personnel department to give Fangio what he needs. He's not just going to take scraps, because guess what? Fangio could say, you know what? I can do this shit. I can go home.
Yeah.
Right. I have to do this. I want to coach. And he has that clout to say, all right, cool, I won't do it. So now, whether it be free agency, whether it be trades, whether it be draft, they're going to see an influx of talent into these positions that that kind of have been forgotten about. You know what I mean? So curious to see. It's like out of the DC candidates, how we said a little bit about Kellen Moore, maybe not the first option. Out of DC candidates that was out there that readily became available, I think Fangio was the best option, in my opinion, especially for what this team had.
One of the only people that I would have rather had is Mike McDonald, but he's probably not. You
would have to make him the head coach.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, pretty much.
There's not much. I mean,
there's no point in him leaving.
Everyone was talking about, like, how Miami players didn't want him anymore, and they were happy he was gone. Like, I don't know if you guys saw the interview with Dante Whitner, who played under Fangio, I think, for 3 seasons, and he talks about how, like, that if someone like players like that, they're probably not focused on football. Like, and Marshall talks about it's Miami. The boys were out every night. Like,
it's a Miami lifestyle. Like, you're either
Whitner was talking about how Fangio is so detailed in the little things. There's so much detail and what he teaches you from just like the alignment of your hips to where you're positioned to like the spacing, like everything is detailed. It's he's the architect of the defense. Like it's him, it's his defense. So he knows what where he wants certain things, and the philosophy of the defense to me makes complete sense. Like it's not about, let's get this out of the way. His defense is not about, the first thing is not about bend don't break. It's kind of part of it, but it's not the core philosophy. The core philosophy is confusing the quarterback by showing one thing pre-snap and then changing it to something else post-snap. That is the core philosophy of a Fangio defense. And what did we talk about last week when it came to modern defenses and modern offenses? When I talked about the modern offenses in the league today, the what's taking the league by storm is the Shanahan offense, right? Well, what type of defense do you want to do to throw that type of offense in disarray? You want to confuse them. You want to change things up. You want to make them think post-snap and give them less time to adjust to what they're seeing. That is what Fangio is. That's what Fangio wants to do with his defense, and he builds everything else around that. That's his core philosophy. So I don't know how you have a problem with that. That's something that every defense tries to do. They just do it different ways, and I think that I love what Fangio does.
Yeah, I completely 100% agree. 100% agree. I love what he brings to the table as far as just his mind and what he's seen. This dude's been coaching for the last 20 years at the NFL level. People forget that Jim Harbaugh-led defense in the early 2000s when the 49ers played the Super Bowl against the Ravens. He was the DC there. So, and every since then, the Niners have had a decent defense, honestly. You know what I mean? So, like that is still holding true. He has a presence in that organization. So we saw what he did with the Bears. We saw what he did with Denver. We'll see. We'll see. There was a trade out there that Jake made you say yes on about a certain someone. I would probably say I would do that as well. But
trade.
We'll see. We'll see. I just once again, I think these are the hands of the Eagles players. The Eagles, whatever roster you're going into the 2024-2025 season, and the coordinator hands that they're in, and then all the way through the coaching staff, because I hit on that last week. These two, right? So if you had the brain trust, you have Nick, you have Kellen Moore, and you have Vic Fangio. But then the coaches underneath of that, they also have to bring something to the table, right? And we can kind of see from the first two hires that we've seen on the defensive side under Fangio, we've both been a fan of. Seattle, for whatever reason, no matter how bad or good the personnel is on the defensive line is decent, right? And they play sound, they play discipline. We already seen how many cornerbacks did Carl Scott send to the Pro Bowl. You know what I mean?
It was 4, I believe.
4, right? So, and then now I don't think. So let me ask you a question, and maybe maybe we didn't know. I just haven't seen it. Have we outside of Statler and maybe Michael Clay, was anybody else retained?
On the defensive
the
side,
QB coach is gone. I'm trying to remember. I don't know if they kept the wide receivers coach.
I was gonna say Moorhead. Did they keep him?
They don't know. They
I
probably
knew there was like some special assistant that we had that his contract just basically was up.
Yeah, I think Moorhead is gone. I think that's
Alex Tanney's definitely gone, correct?
Yeah,
he's done. He's already looking elsewhere.
I don't know about Singleton. I don't know about the.
Yeah, I don't know either.
I'm not sure. I haven't heard anything.
I wouldn't mind bringing in Alex Van Pelt.
Okay.
That's QB coach.
I would say Deuce Staley, but he got.
I thought didn't he interview for an OC job somewhere? Alex, fam that doesn't know, Alex Van Pelt is the ex Browns coordinator. Who that job just got? They just filled that role with.
He's also Rodgers' QB coach.
Okay.
He was the Browns offensive coordinator, not QB.
No,
coach.
but I'm saying the Browns just hired another offensive coordinator.
Yeah, Ken Dorsey.
Yeah, there we go.
That's who it was.
Yeah.
I was like, I know somebody. It was somebody who just recently had a job. See, I mean, so somebody like, but here's the thing, right? Well, Jalen's 25 now, right?
Mm-hmm.
So for him, whatever Brian Johnson did with you in the QB room and whatever Shane Steichen had, if you have success this year back to when you had it in the 2022 season, now at this point, you have to now hold yourself up to a standard.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? Now even with that being said, we'll be the first ones to sit here and tell you why other people are saying Jalen this, Jalen that, Jalen this. Stats and data has shown Jalen wasn't working with a lot and was very successful at what he had to work with.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. By every metric, he was a top 10 quarterback this year.
You see what I'm saying? So while it's on him and then all the whole leader this, the leader that, listen, he was the same dude when y'all was 10-1 that he was when y'all was 1-6.
Exactly.
Same demeanor. And we all heard, we could see the speeches after the game, before the game. His defense and his team, himself, the players in that locker room, while all make some question this and some question that, I don't feel as if somebody truly had a problem with him, like he's that unapproachable.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't think he's going to back down.
Philadelphia Inquirer.
You know what I mean? It just is what it is. You know what I mean? So I just don't like a result-based opinion on a perspective about a person and their demeanor when he had the same demeanor when they were having success.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like even in the Tampa Bay game, when they scored that touchdown, well, God, you seen he was right there. Like in that moment, he was there. Whatever reason why he's sitting by himself on the sideline, not looking at this, not talking to a coach, that may change. But at the same time, like, dog, you think if you sit down, if AJ Brown go over to him and sit down next to him, he gonna tell AJ Brown get up?
No.
You see what I'm saying? Like, so like it takes two, right? It takes two. So I don't know what some fans want. He's the least, to me, he's one of the least with words, but also at the same time, like, listen, I need to see you be more consistent, right? So we'll see.
It's just like people talk about that all the time. Well, he's too quiet on the sideline. He's not animated enough. He doesn't get this. He's not that. And I'm like, Meanwhile, if he was going full Psycho T Tom Brady, where he's throwing things on the sideline, he's breaking tackle, he's cursing coaches out, they would talk about what a disruptive player he is.
Right. Yeah.
And you can't trust him. And that's not a good leader. And you need to be looking for trade options. Like, let's just call a spade a spade. Like, come on now.
Honestly, like, anybody who would say that to me, oh, well, he's not a good leader, he's not this, he's not that, what do you do then?
Right.
Yeah.
Are you a leader at your position? Whatever you do in life, are you the leader? Asking, are you a leader? Have you ever been this guy? Have you ever been programmed? Fuck, your son jumped you. What you was doing? Jumped you, built something, and then came back.
Yeah.
And now is in your slot. You see what I'm saying? So like, I just don't get it. People just want to talk. They love to talk.
Mm-hmm.
And if ain't controversy, or just controversy. And here's the other thing: if a player that's on that team in that locker room can't get up, or they got to look to somebody else to be a leader to help you play harder, nah. Now, I'm not one of those dudes who sit there and say, hey, the money is this, the money is that, whatever. But at the same time, like, I'm sitting here worried about my family's future financially, making sure they're secure. If I got 600, 700, or 6 or 7 figures in my bank account after taxes, this, that, and the third, guess what? Whatever lifestyle we got, we can take a pause for that. We can cut back. My family's good. I'm going to go out here and ball out. You see what I'm saying? I don't need extra motivation for that. We all playing through pain. We all playing through injury. I really, truly believe in you. And the thing that sucks about it is you won't be able to see it until September, 8 months from now, is that just the scheme had got so stale. And I don't think that the players felt as if they were built for success and were being led to success. They were like wildebeest being led to cross the river, and not all the alligators is in there waiting for them. All the crocodiles waiting for them. And then someone going to make it out, some of them not.
Mm-hmm.
That's how I think they felt.
Yeah, 100%, 100%. Like it's how is it that you have the same looks against the blitz for 6 weeks straight? The defense is coming, and you're running the same stuff. You're telling me the players are dumb and they're like, oh, let's just run the same things. This works. Like, no, there's no way they don't see that. There's no way they're not saying to themselves, what are we doing? Like, this isn't going to work. Like, that's it. And like, people will kill. The people have criticized Jalen Hurts. Like, look at all he's always abandoning pockets. I know that's a criticism of him that he needs to work on, and I've criticized him too. But like when it comes to also a point where you're facing a blitz and there's nothing going to be open, well, of course, I think it's more understandable that you're going to bail the pocket. You're going to try to make something happen because nothing's going to be open in the middle of the field. So there's it works both ways. And to what you're saying about the leadership thing, exactly. Like one of the best things that Jason Kelsey talks about all the time, and other players have talked about it, is they love that his demeanor, no matter what, it doesn't change. It's always even keel. He's the steady, calming presence. So why would that be an issue now all of a sudden?
Right.
I don't see it. Like, I don't know if I said it on last week's show, but like when you have a collapse like this, I'm blaming everyone. Okay.
Oh, yeah.
I'm blaming everyone. Everyone is to blame. Everyone's to blame. Maybe except for Jake Elliott. Jake Elliott's the only one because
Brandon Mann.
Just the special teams. Leave the special teams alone. They were fine.
Okay.
They were fine.
So everyone on offense and defense is to blame. And that includes Jalen Hurts. I'm sure there are things he should have done better. I absolutely will say that. But I also am not concerned
Should
about
audible every play. Here you go.
I am not concerned about him going forward. He's one of the least of my worries going into the next season.
He wouldn't even crack my top 30 worries I have heading into the next season.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm fine.
Yeah. I know.
For sure, bro. And like, just before we move on, for those who are saying like, well, he had to do better, like there's something there, like there's so much film and there's so many guys who do this and they analyze the game, from your Brett Coleman's to Honest NFL to Sean Syed to Shane Haff. I'm just talking about Philly guys. We could talk about national. Manuel
Dan Orlovsky.
All of them. JT Sullivan. Like, they're telling you there's nobody open over the middle of the field. So what is Jalen supposed to do?
Yeah, what do you want?
I'm talking about weeks. Weeks. There's no
Greg Olsen said it. Troy Aikman said it. Yeah.
Like you want to kill him. Like kill him for what? There's nothing there where you need the man to be beat. To beat that blitz, there's nobody there. Right? There's no six offensive linemen. There was no jumbo packages. It's like literally this. You want to know what it felt like for a player? Probably go wherever you're at. If you don't agree, go wherever you're at. Go up to a wall, brick, drywall, wood, doesn't matter, and just bang your head against that bitch 100 times. Bang your head against it 100 times. That's probably what it felt like. Yeah. And they can't really and in this day and age, they just can't come out sad because listen, guaranteed everybody, whatever you do from a walk of life, there's probably something at your job that you don't agree with. Foundationally, you just don't feel like it's putting you in the best position for success. You won't even go out there and tell your boss how you feel. But that let alone you expect the player making millions of dollars to go do it. You make $50,000 if you're lucky. If you're lucky. That's exactly. If you're lucky. And you want this too. You just want players to come out and throw people under the bus. That's not what they're gonna do.
Yeah.
That's not what they sometimes
and the rebuttal people say like, well, can't Jalen audible into something over the middle of the field?
Not every play.
Not every scheme or system is built to have it that way. Like
unless he was going full Willie Beeman, I don't think so.
People think that it's like Madden. That they think like, oh, every offense has hot routes. Every offense you can just audible. It's not how it works. The scheme doesn't lend itself to those type of things. Like, look, this is one of the reasons why I said no to Cliff Kingsbury. Look at what his offense was in college and what it was at Arizona. They line up, they do spread everyone out. They run these routes to where one side you have a half field read. If it's man, you go to one side. If it's zone, you go to the other. What's my read over here? If it's nothing there, you take off. There's no adjusting. There's none. There's no let's site adjust. These coaches don't give Hurts the opportunity to audible, to make pre-snap adjustments. That's not, they don't provide that. And that's why with Kellen Moore coming in, that's going to be so pivotal So now Jalen Hurts is going to have the opportunity to be able to make pre-snap adjustments. He's going to have the opportunity to say, hey, these guys are open down the middle of the field. Let me prove to everyone that I actually can throw them to the middle of the field. Like, that's so many people criticize him saying he can't throw in the middle of the field. He can't throw in the middle of the field. He can't read a defense. Now he's going to have the opportunity to do so and to prove it. But like the scheme before wasn't lending himself to that. It just wasn't. That's not Jalen. That's the scheme. I don't know how many times I've said it so many times on this show. So many times. I'm repeating myself. I know. It's frustrating when just fans are criticizing. They don't know. They're criticizing something they don't know about. They just don't know. It's incorrect. It's just
like and it's crazy because, and I kind of think I've said this analogy before, right? To where in golf and in bowling, whatever you do, you want to play with the equipment that gives you the most room for error. So last year, the scheme worked, and it worked the majority of the time just from the schematics of it, from the sequencing of it, from Steichen. But when you have to execute, your execution rate has to be at 98% or higher for the play to be successful. But you can have at 85% execution rate and the play can have the same result and be successful. I'd rather take the 85% and do whatever that is, because that causes more room for error. I said this 2 weeks ago, like fans literally, like Jalen would have had to be in the huddle, get down on one knee and have his finger in the grass, drawing the play like it's sandlot football to get somebody over the middle of the field. You see what I'm saying? Like they spent from May OTAs, training camp, all the preseason with the same playbook. And for whatever reason, it did not change. And Sirianni, for whatever reason, at that point, did not have enough testicular fortitude to step up, then go to Brian Johnson and say, hey, da-da-da-da. The biggest thing is, and I'm probably going to like contradict myself, I don't know why this dude did to come out and say, all right, F it, I'm calling the plays. Like I've never seen a head coach shy away from wanting to call plays so much in my life. To almost to where it felt like if Jeff and Howie gave him ultimatum, if we hear you say you want to call the plays in any type of public media, you're fired. Like that's kind of what it felt like. Like those are the words that he can't say. Like he was forbidden to say. I've never seen that. I've never seen that. But yeah, I mean, I'm sorry, Bart. It is what it is. You tell me a coach who constantly is asked every week whose offense is struggling, and he's claiming the offense, but then tells you in the same breath, no, I have enough on my plate to call play, not to call plays. Right. And you see your team struggling. And you just refuse to do anything about it until now. You see what I'm saying? So I don't know. It is what it is. I don't know wherever you want to take the I know I'm the host of the show, but wherever we want the conversation to take us next, we want to hit on comments. If anybody has a question, anything else that you want to bring up, I'm all here.
I don't know how to pronounce his name. Grant says Fangio, his record and stats against winning teams last year is awful. Actually, look at his record toward how those defenses performed later in the year. They actually were playing.
Yeah, their last
really,
8
really
weeks,
well.
they were phenomenal.
They were phenomenal. And look at the performance. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, look at the performance they had against good teams, and then now also factor in who they lost. They got the amount of key players, key starters they started losing due to the injury down the stretch was insane. Like I've never seen anything like. They lost both their starting edge players. They lost their safety. They lost one of the. I think they lost Xavier Howard toward the end of the year. Like they were so banged up. So the fact that Fangio was making it work with that patchwork roster was awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Marcia says, bro, our defense was bad against winning or losing teams. It was just bad, man.
It's so true. It's so true. It's so true. So, like,
speaking of CEOs, our CEO over AT Radio, Tommy boy. And he agrees with you. Yeah, the Dolphins lost a ton of players.
They lost a ton of players.
Same thing with the Chargers. Like
didn't Jordan Phillips tear his Achilles against us? Wasn't that when that happened?
So,
too?
Yeah.
Yes.
Did he?
Yeah,
Majority
Is what it gets us? Hold on.
I'm pretty sure it was. Like it was at like the tail end of the game, like when the game was completely out of reach.
No, that's the Cowboys. No, we're starting against the Cowboys week 15.
So
I'm sorry.
Todd from Germany still says, so the real question is why is Sirianni still the head coach? Because Sirianni is the head coach because Jeff has a hard time just moving on for someone, especially if he gives you an ultimatum and then you give into that.
Mm-hmm. It's also Jeff doesn't want to be perceived as the owner that goes through head coaches every other
Yeah,
week,
but I also think because people kept talking about it and they're like, oh, they didn't probably show anything in the meeting and they just kept him to kept him. I'm like, no, like we've seen what happens when Jeff is in the meeting with someone and he doesn't like what they're saying, they're gone. Like if he came out of that meeting feeling uncomfortable or he didn't like what Sirianni had to say moving forward, his ass is grass. Like that's exactly what would have happened because it was the same thing with Doug. Doug won a Super Bowl because people keep saying it over and over again. So, well, he fired Doug after he won a Super Bowl. He fired Doug because A, he had a 4-12 season, and B, he's like, all right, cool. This is where I want to be moving forward with you. And Doug's like, well, I don't want to do that. I want to do things my way. And I want to keep Press Taylor. To which Jeff was like, no. Did you watch the offense last year? Like, if you're not willing to commit to Jeffrey Lurie's vision, you're not going to be here. And what most
that's true for any boss. Any boss of any company who's writing the checks and signing them bitches. If you don't buy into what they have going on, then yes, you can be fired. Once again, I've said this all the time, and I know it's been not a point of struggle between us, but Doug can do that because he just won this dude the Super Bowl. Right. And like I said, when I asked this question to the fam, I already asked it to these three here. If Nick Sirianni was to get released from his duties, do you think he's getting a head coaching job at any other 32 teams and any other 31 teams in the league?
Head coaching.
I'm talking within the next 3 years, based on what
I say yes.
Yes.
Based on what he had as a team, 10-1 to the collapse that they had. Maybe eventually, yes. Okay, so let me rephrase it.
I've seen Josh McDaniels get multiple head coaching jobs.
I'm changing this. I'm moving the goalposts a little bit, moving the sticks.
That's fine.
Because he doesn't fit your narrative. It's okay.
Because I'm saying this is a litmus test because I compared it to Doug Peterson, right? Would he have gotten the job as fast as Doug Peterson would have gotten the job? Doug Peterson took a whole year off and got hired the next year, the next coach
immediately.
Well, to be fair, they also had like the worst head coach in like NFL history, and they're like, who's somewhat stable? Doug Peterson. There you go.
Because now Doug was hired 2022 offseason.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Hey man, he keeps it up with Press Taylor. I don't know how much longer he's gonna be there.
Yeah, he did.
You say that with a smile on your face to the dude who won you a Super Bowl. We literally just see. I forget who was it. I seen somewhere was an article. I don't know if I seen it in our chat, but they literally said like Doug Peterson and Nick Foles winning a Super Bowl was a Herculean miracle with this ownership. Now here's the thing. We've seen this before, and to go back to Todd's original question, what started this conversation. Why is Nick still the coach? Nick is still the coach because he is still malleable and he's still flexible and he's not set in his ways and he can be controlled. So you take that for whatever it's worth. As much good as we talked about so far up to this point, an hour and 8 minutes into the show. You truly, truly have a coach who is not his own man, who cannot stand on his own feet. And the owner and the GM maybe, because there's some rumors out there swirling around, don't want to give him that. You got to have so much clout already established on your resume for them to kind of back down. You see what I'm saying? We've heard the story with Chip Kelly that they said Jeff was like, why did you give power all to Chip Kelly? He said, that's the only way that I could prove if he was a good coach or not. I had to give him all that power to see what type of man he was. And Jeff did that once, and it didn't work.
Right.
And it didn't work. So go ahead, Chucks.
I think though that shows what type of owner Lurie is in the fact that I think that he's doing it in a different way with Sirianni. I think that now everything you said about Sirianni being, like being able to be controlled and everything, I'm not arguing against it. That very well could be the case. Okay. And people throw out the term yes man. He's a yes man. Like very, very possible. Not denying that. I think on the other side of it, though, from playing devil's advocate, I think you have to look at it like Lurie's probably saying, okay, this guy won a lot of games with him. A lot. I mean, went to the Super Bowl last year, very close to winning it. We had a horrific collapse after being 10-1. Okay. Do I want to overreact? Probably not. But what level of certainty do I have to be able to say, hey, like he's not the answer, right?
Right.
So, guys, remember when this conversation started weeks ago, the whole thing was brought up like, will he be fired? And I'm not trying to pat myself on the back, but I called every single thing that happened. I said it. Like I said, he's going to sit down with Sirianni. He's going to say, Sirianni, you have to change. All of this stuff has to go out the window. You collapsed. You have to change, or else you're out the door. And Sirianni obliged. He wanted to keep his job. So he changed and he gave in and said, hey, I'm okay. We're going to change things up. I think that with Lurie now, he's trying to achieve the same goal that he did with Chip when it comes to, hey, I need to find out if he's a good coach, right? But doing it a different way. You are now putting him in a situation where, hey, you're going to get these coordinators. You're doing something different. Okay. How good of a coach are you from the sense that you now have this CEO type role, which is not uncommon. Let's put it out there for all the fans who are saying, like, what does he do? What does he do? Like, there are so many coaches right now that are the CEO type of coach where they're not calling plays on offense, not calling plays on defense, managing the locker room, the roster, the team, and managing in game. Okay. So that is his role. So he's saying, okay, Sirianni, this is your role. How good are you at it? And how much can you learn from this, from going forward from this collapse? How can you learn? Okay. So will it work? No one knows, but that's what he's trying to set up, is saying you're being set up for success. What can you do from here on out? So, like, I don't think that I give credit to Sirianni to say, like, hey, it takes to me that press conference. I thought the press conference went really well overall. Okay, there were some things they were saying that were like, really, but overall, I liked what I heard, because how many people out there could go again in public with the media in a press conference and say the things and humble themselves to say the things that Sirianni said? Like, I don't think there are a lot. Like, I think that, I'm not saying it's rare, but I'm saying, like, you'll find a lot of people who refuse to do that. So I give Sirianni credit, because if he's willing to make all these changes, then maybe there is hope for him. Okay. And so, like, I think that we have to understand that with Sirianni, he was, and now people are going to point to the collapse of saying, well, he wasn't good at in-game decisions and managing the game. Yeah, during the collapse, he wasn't. He was horrible. That was a big reason why they collapsed, because he was a shell of himself. He wasn't managing the game well, and he wasn't doing stuff well. He wasn't coaching well. But before the collapse, it was a totally different story. He was lauded for being one of the best in-game managers and knowing what to call, knowing how to make decisions during the game.
Knowing what to what? Knowing what to what?
Make calls, or what did I don't even remember.
That means don't call shit.
Well, I'm saying, like, no. When I say make calls, I mean like knowing when to challenge like a play, knowing like
when to kick.
You know what I mean? Yeah. So, like, managing the game, he was excellent at it.
Yep.
The collapse happened, and he turned to a shell of himself. So we will find out: is he more so the coach that collapsed and became someone who doesn't know how to manage the game? Or is he more so the Nick Sirianni we saw before that, where he was one of the best coaches at calling a game? Like, you know what I mean? So that we'll wait and see. I think there's two sides of it that you can look at. There's two spectrums, and I don't want to keep going far because I know I ranted, but I think there is a lot to say about he's getting so much heat, but I think it's not fair totally to not give him credit. I think we have to give him credit for being willing to change because PY, you mentioned this in our chat. There are a lot of coaches out there who have huge egos that will refuse to humble themselves in public like that. Sirianni did it, so let's see what he can do.
Yeah, I mean, listen, this is not taking anything. It's going to sound like I'm not taking anything away from everything you just said. Listen, everybody in the world saw this team go from 10-1 to 11-6 and get bounced in the first round of the playoffs. He didn't have a lot to stand on.
No.
If he would have came out there and been unabashed and been unchanged and have been steadfast in his ways, yes, I'm using big words on purpose, then that probably would have been more harm than good, right?
Yeah.
So I actually like the idea. If I'm a first-time head coach, if I'm a coordinator, things like I think a CEO approach, because there is so much on your plate. It's your first time in this role. There's other things that you've never had to do at this level to kind of take care of everything. So from that standpoint, I get it. Here's the thing, and I think Tom, right here, this is what I'm saying because he said it last Wednesday night, A2D. You'll catch them 24 hours from now. You can't win me over in a press conference, no matter how good this shit sounds.
Yeah.
And if it's everything you wanted to hear, that should not win you over. And you can maybe forgive, but I'm not forgetting the opportunity that we lost. And I'll always go back to this, right? Jake said this probably maybe 2-3 months ago. Will we look back at Super Bowl 57 as the most failed opportunity in the Philadelphia Eagles franchise history? He said that, and we all was like, nah. And then for a long time, he was right. But there's no guarantee we get back there.
It goes back to even look at what Dan Campbell said at his press conference after he lost to the Niners. He's like, we might never get back here again. He's like, I told my guys in the locker room, we might never get back here again.
This might have been our only shot. Yep.
Yeah, and it's like the harsh reality. It doesn't mean it's not true. It could we could very well be back in the Super Bowl potentially next year, and the whole conversation is null and void. But it's very rare when you see a Kansas City, San Francisco, to where they're in the conversation year in and year out to win a Super Bowl, to compete for a Super Bowl every year. That doesn't happen for most teams. People have to understand that. Like, obviously, New England got a taste or enjoyed it for 20 plus years, and now Kansas City's turn, and San Francisco seems to be enjoying it, but they haven't gotten over the hump yet. But it's just, you got to take those opportunities when they when they come.
You got to, and you got to capitalize on them. And that, I want to take that segue perfectly into conference championship games. We'll get into that. And then, are we doing the PY5 tonight?
If we have time.
Okay.
Do you have a PY5?
I do, yes.
Okay, great.
So, talked about uncashed opportunities. Start with the NFC first, right? You sit here and said it's been a PY Chucks have been going at it. I'll kind of start.
I haven't been going anywhere.
Unless
I haven't been going anywhere. Someone's been having a temper tantrum in our chat.
Shit.
That's funny.
So here's the thing. Here's the thing. So we all know what happened. You can kind of say we probably won't see Don now for a couple weeks. I know this. If this fan base did what
He's
they did
over
Sunday,
or in a coma.
Oh my goodness. We went 10-1, went 1-5, got bounced. I would say blowing at what was the lead at one point?
17.
A 17-point lead in a conference championship game probably is the equivalent of that. And when you had opportunities, we're gonna go get right to it. We'll start right where the shit hit the fan. Third quarter, 4th and 2. You've been running the ball down the throat. 4th and 3, whatever it was. You've been running the ball down the throat the whole game. Dan Campbell's going for it. Cool. this is where I'm not on Dan Campbell for this because he's trusted his guys all year. Ben Johnson dropped the ball. It's so many different things. Ben Johnson, I can't even say Ben Johnson dropped the ball.
Technically, Josh Reynolds dropped the ball.
Twice. Twice.
I don't know if I would have put. If I'm 4th and 3, just when the first half you ran it for it was 3rd and 12, and you ran it for 15 yards on a pitch out with Jameer Gibbs. I don't know in that position if it was the most successful when you had the offensive line. Even though it was a clean look, I probably would want to just run that ball with David Montgomery. And if I don't get it, I'm cool. But the biggest thing is, and this is why I kind of agree with PY a little bit. I know you're going out for the knockout blow, but you're up. At that point, they were up 24-10. Any points at that point, any points.
3-score game.
Any 27-10, even if 31-10, 27-10, it's still. And this is where we talked about, and I said it earlier in the show. You have to learn how to win. If Dan Campbell's in that position again, he's probably not going to make that same mistake. If Ben Johnson's in that position again, and everything is equal, he's probably not going to do that play call. Or guess what? It's going to be Jameson Williams, or it's going to be Amon-Ra St. Brown. Like you want to go down with the players that you want.
Yep. Yeah.
I understand Josh Reynolds had a couple good moments. I'm not putting him in that spot.
Two big drops.
I'm not putting him in that spot at all.
Yeah.
So
so go ahead, PY, you go first.
Yeah, like I understand people like, he trusted his guys, which is great. You're trusting Josh Reynolds at 4th and 3. You're not trusting Sam Laporta. You're not trusting Amon-Ra St. Brown. You're not trusting Jameson Williams.
That's Ben Johnson's decision.
Which is fine. I'm not saying it's all on Dan Campbell. I'm saying Ben Johnson has some fault in that too. But like they knew where they were going. Like on 3rd and 4, you could have gone a pass play. You ran it up the middle because you already made the decision. You're going further on 4th down, and the 4th down conversion play you have is a play to Josh Reynolds. I'm like, okay, I wouldn't have done that. I wouldn't. I wouldn't have done it. Like you have the chance to kick the field goal. All you need is 3. You don't need the kill shot. You're up 17. I don't care if the kicker is shaky or not. If you don't feel comfortable with him, guess what? You shouldn't have dressed him. If you don't feel comfortable enough, just don't kick it. Don't kick field goals at all. Go for 2 every time. If you're that uncomfortable with your kicker, just go for 2 every time. Like, are you serious with this? He's an NFL kicker. Go for it. Take the points. Like, sometimes you don't need to be sexy. Just be smart. Like, literally, the game is within the range. All you need is 3 points to end it. You don't need to go for the kill shot every time. Like, Mr. over there, like come on. All you needed to be was 3 points. That's it.
I hope I'm clipping that.
That's fine. I don't care.
It's getting clipped and I'm using against you forever.
I don't care. Which specific am I getting clipped for?
You'll see.
Like I said, I agree with the ideology on the first one. The play, I can't vibe with the play calls. That's my thing. Go ahead, Chuck.
Well, okay, so PY, you're saying you keep alluding to take the points. When your kicker is making barely over 50% of his kicks from 45 plus yards out, and your offense during the season has converted 80+% of their 4th down attempts from 4th and 3 or shorter in their opponent's territory, what's the better math? Like what is 80% greater than 50%, PY?
No, it is not.
Uncle Sweeps in the building.
Jesus Christ. Like you got to understand, like, this is who they've been the whole year. The players expect it. Dan Campbell has set this precedent of who they are. The
who
whole
they
time
are
he's
is a team in
been there.
Cancun.
Let me talk. I let you talk. They've set this precedent. The players expect it. They know it. This is what they live by. Okay. Their bread and butter is the offense. That is their strongest part of their team is their offense. So he's saying, okay, do I trust my kicker who is barely over 50%, from hitting these types of field goals, or do I trust my offense who's 80% from 4th and 3 or shorter? Like what the math is right there. Okay.
Right.
Now the decision to go for a pass to Josh Reynolds, that is debatable. That I'm perfectly fine with that. Call a run where you're gashing them on the ground all game. Call a run. That's fine. Make sure you draw something up to Amon-Ra St. Brown or Laporta. Perfectly fine. Perfectly fine. But I'm not going to let anyone say that the decision to go for it was a dumb one as opposed to kicking the field goal. Chances are, if you go by math, because we all should have an elementary understanding of what math is, 80% is greater than 50%. So I'm going to go with the stronger unit. I'm going to go with the part of my team that has proven themselves 80% of the time over the guy that has only proven himself 50% of the time in those situations. It's just, I don't understand how you have everything in front of you to say, and like you're going to, like, if you're going to blame anyone for that failed conversion in the third quarter, blame Josh Reynolds. Like that, he had it. The pass was like even if it was a bad decision to go to Josh Reynolds, right?
He was wide open.
Okay, he
was
wide open. He was wide open, open. Like he had. It wasn't even a difficult catch. He dropped a pass he should have had. So how is that? How is that on Dan Campbell and Ben Johnson? Like again, if you want to put some blame on them for the play call, fine. But how are you looking at this situation and not saying saying it was a bad decision, saying it's a dumb decision when the pass was supposed to be completed, but Josh Reynolds dropped it.
And just and not speaking for you, but just to kind of give some insight. Your biggest thing is outside of the 80 and 50%, not doing the math. I could do it, not doing it. But your biggest thing is the fact that they had been doing it all year. If he was doing something different in these clutch positions,
then what would the team have said? The team would have thought, okay, why is he switching it up?
No, I'm not even saying that. I'm saying like if, in similar situations during the year, if up 14 like this, like he was, and Campbell decided to take the points, that's what I'm saying. So you kind of just fill in the blanks. So, because I'm getting from you that, all right, this is what they've been doing all year. This is what the players expect. So if they had done something different in this position during the regular season, then maybe he would have been more inclined to take the points in that situation, to where obviously, like we have Uncle Sweeps in here saying take the points, Greg saying the same thing. It's like to do that, it's almost like a complete paradigmal shift from what they were doing before.
But yeah, I mean? And that's part of the thing. Like you are on that team. You're Detroit. You're part of the Detroit Lions. This is what you've been doing. If you switch it up, how do you think your players react? Like, how do you think they're going to think about that? Like, there's going to be a part of them saying, like, is he panicking? Why aren't we going for it? They're going to want to go for it. They expect it. And that's why you made that call on third down to run it, because the expectation was to go for it on fourth down. If there really wasn't any other expectation but to go on fourth down, you think they call a run play on 3rd and 5? No, they don't. I don't even know what's 3rd and 5. It was probably longer than that. But like they ran it on 3rd down so they can set up the 4th down. I don't know. So, and then overall, okay, so let's go beyond that, because I think I'm pretty sure that, like, I've said everything I need to say about that play. How are we? Like, I think we do agree on the 4th down attempt in the 4th quarter. We all agree we would have kicked it, because with the amount of time left on the clock and the situation, yes, I would have attempted the field goal, because you only have 8 minutes left. You had to be able to tie it,
and at that point,
time is limited. Yeah, you're down. Time is limited. So we agree on that. I would have kicked the field goal. Overall, what I've been seeing from online is people coming out of this game, everyone's first reaction is like, oh, like Dan Campbell lost it. Dan Campbell lost it. How are you looking at this loss by the Lions? And the first thing you're looking at is Dan Campbell when Jahmyr Gibbs fumbled. Amon-Ra St. Brown had a crucial drop on third down. Josh Reynolds had 2 crucial drops on money downs, one on fourth down, one on third down. The Vildor had a dropped interception that was hit him in the freaking face mask that led to Brandon Ayuk's freaking long I forget how long that was, but
it was 50
the play
yards.
the play that pretty much turned the tide was that play.
Because that was right off. Was that third down right off of the first fourth down stop.
Something like that. So, and then also, let's not forget about that massive punt the Lions punter had, but the special teams unit couldn't down the ball at the 1 yard line. So there's so many different mistakes that also led to the loss. And if you want to focus on Dan Campbell, here's the thing: I don't even look at the fourth down attempts as his biggest mistake. His biggest mistake was deciding to run it with less than 2 minutes left to waste that time out. Doing that is absolutely horrendous. That if you want to kill Dan Campbell over anything, it should be that. That is what you should be criticizing Dan Campbell for. Not the fourth down attempts, but deciding to go for it and running it so that you lose a timeout and now you're relying on the onside kick. That is, I think that's the most egregious decision. That is when I'm like, what in the world are you doing? Why are you running it? You just, any hope that you had of coming back and tying that game, you lost by running the ball on that play. That is the play that we should be angry about. But so many people are angry about fourth down attempts. Take the points. That's so like, to me, that's so like short-sighted. It's so, you're not taking into account who they are and the situation and everything like that. Like you can't come at me and say that, oh, like you have to keep momentum. Like how is attempting a field goal that you're likely going to miss keeping momentum? You go. So
I don't think it's keeping. It's the attempt. It's easier to say because at that point, if whoever the kicker is, I can't remember the name, but if he misses it, then you just missed it. He could made the right call. He just missed it. But listen, I'll say this, and then we can say what we want to say about the Chiefs-Ravens game, and then we'll get into PY's 5. Listen, I will gladly say this 100%. Niners fans in here, I don't care. The only reason you won that game is because of Purdy's legs, and then the ineptitude of the Detroit Lions. The San Francisco 49ers are the luckiest team, number 1 seed, to be in the Super Bowl because they should have lost.
They should have lost to the Packers,
and they should have lost in the conference.
Field goal there too.
So, yes, exactly. Packers game, missed field goal, exactly. And then, really, in this game, the defense on the Lions had everything kind of bundled up. It was not until Purdy started escaping away, started using his legs, and that's what you're not going to account for that.
Yep.
If you're Aaron Glenn, you're not going to prepare for that because he hasn't had the need to do that. It's cool that he can do that, but he hasn't had the need to do that all year. So going into the Super Bowl, if the Niners start off like that against this team that they're about to play,
they're not.
Maybe not so much in the conference championship game, but the reason why I said I wanted to get into the Chiefs, because the Chiefs know if it wasn't for Wide Right Part 2 with Tyler Bass, them bitches wouldn't have been playing. At all. That's why I said at some point you got to take a little luck. Even when we won the Super Bowl 52, it was that horrible fade pass to Julio Jones that didn't work. If it wasn't for that,
really, I don't even call that. I think it's the Torrey Smith one where it bounces off his hands and goes into Zach Ertz's hands, and they get far enough for a field goe.
Oh, you talking about the one that bounced off Keanu Neal?
His knee.
Yeah, his knee. Yeah, I mean, but that's the Ayuk off of Vildor's head. That you need something. Sometimes there's a little luck involved. I will say this: the Chiefs have been playing cleaner up until this point, and then last Sunday at 3:00. You can love Patrick Quinn, you can love Roquan Smith, you can love the attitude of the Ravens defense. That shit came to bite them in their ass. They have 4, if I'm not mistaken, 4 personal fouls for 15 yards.
Yep.
You can't do that. You can't play.
What it was.
You can't play. I think the Chiefs is the only team in the playoffs so far that doesn't have a turnover. If I'm not mistaken. They don't have a turnover.
That worries me.
They may have one. But Brock Purdy gladly turn. Brock Purdy's definitely going to throw a pick. He's going to throw a pick next time.
There's no way that he is going to
against
get
that
away.
defense. Yeah, get out of here.
There's no way he's going to get away with all those. Like, I've never seen someone throw so many interceptable passes as I have Brock Purdy. I'm not even just hating. I think it's common. I think it's common knowledge at this point where it's like, how is he getting away with all these passes that should have been in?
It's only a matter of time.
There's no way. There's no way he's getting away with it against the Chiefs. There's no way. There's absolutely, like, yeah. I don't understand.
And that's the thing. Like, we sit here, like Greg Mills' comment right here. Right, I put it up. He says he doesn't know why the Ravens start trying to run the ball.
Yeah,
Dan Campbell, first time in that position on that level. Ben Johnson, Aaron Glenn. You got to learn from that. Kyle Shanahan, not so much, but we also can say the same thing about the AFC Championship game. Andy Reid, Spags, listen, these dudes between them have 4 rings already.
Blitz, and more blitz.
And they've kind of seen it. They've been in these situations. Patrick Mahomes has been in these situations. The young players now have been in these situations. They won a ring last year. They didn't really have any turnover. So for Todd Monken and Mike Macdonald, they never been on this stage. It is different. This type of playoff football, championship weekend, it is a different animal. It's not something that you can tame because you don't know what it's like until you're actually in it, right? So why he stopped running the ball? Because Monken was at Georgia. Yeah, he had big profile games at college, but this is different. This is different, and shit happens. And it had Lamar looking bad. I will always say this: Lamar's been getting killed. The one touchdown they had came out of his play, came out off of him, and the other one that they should have had, that's on Zay Flowers. So the interception of Isaiah Likely, he has to trust himself. Listen, you've been trusting Likely all year, ever since Mark Andrews been out since November 16th. Throw that ball to the back of the end zone because if he don't catch it, nobody catches it.
No one catches it. Yeah, you have to throw it higher.
And you just have to learn. You sucks. You got to take your lumps, man.
And with Lamar, and again, like I've defended Lamar a lot. I'm not going to defend it over that performance. There were also plays where if there's nothing there, Lamar, you got to run. Like one of the big reasons why you are, where you were just freaking run. Like you can't hold on to the ball for 4+ seconds and everyone being covered and just like it's the whole like Donovan McNabb thing. Remember like Donovan McNabb, like he wanted to prove that he was like a good passer, so he would like stay in the pocket and not run. It's like, guys, sometimes you just gotta use your legs, and this is what like Brock Purdy like did. Well, I'll give credit to like Brock Purdy made the plays with his legs when he needed to. Like Lamar has to learn how to do not learn how to do that, but like in that situation,
opportunities and act on it.
Just go. You are Lamar freaking Jackson. You're arguably the best
Jackson, baby. Come on.
You're the best running QB in the league. Just go. If there's no one there, just run. But he didn't. Yeah. And so, like, what I will say is that, like, I think that I do want to give credit. Like, Todd Monken, horrible game plan. Offense is horrible. Like, I think we all agree. I don't think there's anyone that would disagree that they should have been running the ball against a run defense that was really poor, right? Yep. So that's agreed. I do want to say Mike Macdonald makes some really great second half adjustments, just how he did the week before. So like he deserves a lot of credit, and that's why I think like Mike Macdonald, he deserves a head coaching job if he goes to Seattle. Like the stuff that he does is absolutely insane, So like he deserves credit. Like, the defense came, the defense from a schematic standpoint, they came and they played. But the thing is like undisciplined stuff, like you had said, PY, like with Roquan Smith and Zay Flowers, like getting that penalty and like all like their inexperience in that type of game kind of shows why. Kind of shows like, hey, it came to haunt them. It came to bite them in the butt. Because
that's why I said like the Chiefs really have just been like, hey, we know who we are. They're the only team really.
They acted like they've been there before because they have.
Yeah. They changed it up because they just start running the ball heavy with Pacheco. Probably once they got into the playoffs, right? And look where they're at now. I honestly sneakily think, and this is looking ahead, the Chiefs assign Mike Evans. They should give Andy a weapon, give Patrick Mahomes a weapon on his way out. If I'm the Ravens, if anything this game showed me is I'm going to go sign Saquon, and then you deal with that.
Yep.
Then you deal with that.
I would love.
I just think it's funny because I saw it all games. Like, oh man, Ravens are getting hosed. It's not fair. It's bogus calls. No, you're playing like a bunch of idiots. Like, I'm sorry, this isn't the 2000 Ravens. You don't get to do that crap anymore. Oh, the roughing the passer play was BS. No, he didn't. He drove in to Mahomes' neck with his head. Like, they're calling that every time.
The one he got smacked in the face on the back. Then
like they're grabbing his face mask in one play. Guess what? They're gonna call that because it's there. You can't smack him in the face mask. Like, that's just not like it's not happening. And also,
it's against the rules. Like,
also, like, I love taunting. I love celebrations. I am a triple thrust guy. You know, Key and Peele, like all that. Like it's fun. However, when it's not fun, is when he's already on the ground and you're like grabbing him. They're like, oh, we know Kelsey taunts all the time. Kelsey taunts after like he does things, but Kelsey also isn't like grabbing people on the ground. Like, he knows when and when not to taunt. Like,
and Kelsey egged him on into the one.
That was smart football.
Yeah,
what did they say during the game? Oh, you know, it's always the last guy who does it. And it's 100% factual. It's every time. How many times have we seen it with the Eagles games to where we know we're not guilty 100%. But guess what? Our guy was the last person to do anything. So that's what they see. They don't care about who started. They care. It's like any schoolyard bully. They don't care what happens, and they don't care who throws the first punch. They care about who throws the last punch, because that's the person who's getting in trouble.
Yeah, wasn't so. I think this call Martian's talking about, if I'm not mistaken, before the Zay Flowers drop at the 1, didn't Zay get called for a taunting penalty?
Yes. So he catches the ball, Kelsey or whoever's on the ground, and he grabs. He puts he's taunting him, and I don't think at that point they're going to call it. And then he grabs him while the dude's on the ground, and after that, the ref's like, "Yep, play."
No, it wasn't even that. It's the fact that he pushed him when he got up. He stood over top of him, and then he spun the football right in front of him. That's what did it when he taunted him that way.
I mean, it's just like you got to learn. Like, you have to learn how to carry yourself, man. And
also,
this is why, for every answer, this is an early Super Bowl preview, and then we'll get into the list because I want to leave time for it. The Chiefs, I don't think the 49ers, because the 49ers definitely, they hadn't played the offense like they had saw with the Lions, and they struggled, and it showed. They haven't played a quarterback like they have, like Patrick Mahomes. So you just can't prepare for that. But on the back end of that defense, and these games, Spags goes to another level. I don't know how he does it, but he
20 plus years of experience, man.
And that he wants to. This is a sneaky thing. He wants that get back from 2021. He wants, because that's when honestly the Niners kind of gave that game away, and he wants to do better against this offense now. And it's like, as far as a football matchup, it's great. It's the most matchup that we probably could have had out of the 4 teams.
Right.
Outside of the biggest storyline, I saw her name come up already way earlier in the show, like an hour ago. It is what it is, man. Like, somebody had pointed out
for like 20. So
I think it's an over-under for like 30 shots on the Super Bowl.
Colin, you know what's bad when Coward's talking about it? She averages like 30 seconds of screen time on a 3-hour show. Like, and he was talking about it. If you're so miserable as a human being that 30 seconds of Taylor Swift is ruining your day, I don't know what to tell you. You know what? When they show Bradley Cooper 45 times at Eagles games, nobody cares.
That does annoy me.
When they show Mike Trout, when Jack Nicholson was at the
Lakers games,
like all these people who are showing way more than she is during the games. Oh my God, they're just diehard fans. It's just great football. God bless them. It's fine, but when she does it, oh my God, they're ruining football. Actually, she's not ruining football. She's actually making the product more watchable.
She's making
she's finally bringing the women into it.
Million,
more.
I was just going to mention that, Martian. Exactly.
More viewership, and like you think Juszczyk's wife is getting that NFL deal unless Taylor wears that coat? Are you serious? They just brought another level of revenue stream to them. Also, you know what's great? So many dads are getting to watch football with their daughters because they know Taylor is going to watch, and they get to sit with their daughters for 3 hours. And maybe there are times where, you know what, they don't really get to spend a lot of time with each other because they don't have similar interests. But because their love of Taylor Swift, they get to sit down with their dads and they get to enjoy an event together. Like when I was a kid, there were a few times I got to enjoy things with my dad. And when I found something we liked together, you know, I still think about those times as an adult. Like, it's great.
I think we get red and yellow confetti, and I think we get Travis Kelce
proposing.
100%.
I'll
I said
take
it
that
last
right
week.
now. I don't think they've been dating
100%
long
it's
enough.
happening.
I'll bet you whatever you want right now. It's not happening. I'll bet you.
I will go as far as to say this. I think their relationship hinges on the outcome of next month.
I don't think so because
That's the quote. That's the quote image.
Hey, man, listen, if you can lock down a $1 billion woman, and you get this,
he's
man,
gonna take her last name.
years,
He's
you
like,
can
this is
take
great.
half?
My life is awesome.
Take half after that. Like, come on, man. But all right, we've been waiting long enough. We're keeping the people waiting. Let's get into this list.
You know what Travis is gonna say too. He's like, I got a ring. I got to get my girl one too, huh?
Exactly.
Yep.
Right?
I'll say that right on the podcast. He'll be like, I got a ring. She's got to get one too.
And for the
I
record,
want her on the Eagles Christmas album next season with Trav.
Oh my God, you're just coming up with ways to just give them money. That's a fantastic idea. And you know what?
You're giving your intellectual properties away for nothing.
It might happen.
Oh my
Yeah,
God.
that's I didn't think about that, PY. That's a really good point. That might actually
People
happen.
got mad at him earlier in the season because he was on the Christmas album. They're like, this is ridiculous. And I'm like, it's for charity, you morons.
Yeah.
All they're doing is making more money for people who need it.
Yeah.
If Taylor Swift goes on
if he proposes, I hope she says, all right now.
All right now. All right now.
All right now.
All right. What is the list?
What is the topic?
5 people who are wrong.
Oh my God.
People who are wrong.
People, groups, it's all good. It's all one thing.
I don't know if we do, Martian. I don't know, but we may.
I need some legal advice. I wish, yeah.
I think they do. I think they do sponsorship. But anyway.
So,
number 5.
Dan Campbell.
There it is. Okay.
There you go. It's low-hanging fruit.
It's 5, though. He is 5.
Yeah,
I have it at 5.
I knew he had to get it on there, but okay. Number 5.
You know, it's just you need it 3. You need 3 points to win this game and go to the Super Bowl and, you know, make every person in Detroit happy, including Eminem. And you said no to 6 points. So, you know, you're wrong.
Okay, so where are we at number 4?
Commander fans.
Oh,
okay.
Yeah, because they had a nice little one for Ben Johnson.
Yeah.
So it got so bad that you had people going on other shows whenever social media accounts they were basically claiming their firstborn child on the fact that Ben Johnson was going to be their new head coach. And now you just look stupid. And the fact that you're going to have cap space, you're going to have draft picks. Ron Rivera is gone. All these things, new ownership. Mm-hmm. You're going to have like a top 2 pick and possibly a top quarterback. And he's like, nah, dog, that's not for me. Like, you know how bad that is?
You want to know why he wanted to stay? Because of your number 5. He wanted to stay because of Dan Campbell.
Or, you know, because he knows he can get more money.
Because he's Dan Campbell.
It can be both. You both could be right.
Yeah, you both. Yeah.
I love that high school Harry.
Number 3.
Martian funny. Martian funny.
He's still out there. He is available.
Oh, could you imagine? Oh, that'd be so funny. Could you imagine? That'd be so funny.
That would be hilarious.
They pass on Johnson and get. Oh, that'd be great.
But they're like, well, we needed another B. Johnson.
Yeah, they're just like, here he is. We got him. Oh,
we got B. Johnson.
Sorry. Oops.
Oh my God.
Who we got at number 3, P.
Number 3.
Chris Broussard.
Okay, you got to fill me in. I don't watch anything.
I don't
all year, they've killed Nick Wright. over the Patrick Mahomes stuff. He got the stupid, never a doubt.
He's
tattoo.
defending Nick Wright.
I'm not so much killing Nick. I'm killing Broussard because they killed him every week. Broussard all year was like, it's Lamar. It's Lamar. It's Lamar's time. It's his time to shine. Mahomes, they need to do this, that, and a third. It's over.
Right.
And Stone Cold Lock is basically where Broussard was going with this. And the fact that he had to walk in the studio on Monday knowing what happened in that game and just be stone cold busted. He was wrong.
Yeah, so you were defending Nick Wright.
I'm not so in a way, yes.
Nick Wright he's defending Patrick Mahomes. It's about Mahomes. Because Mahomes succeeded and Lamar did not.
Yes, he did.
Chuck's is trying to weasel his way into him admitting that Nick Wright is on PY's wall.
So Nick Wright fan.
Well, he is.
Yeah, I am. I mean, it could be worse. I could be a Chris Sims fan. Can you imagine that? That'd be pathetic.
Ooh.
Number 2. Anyone suggesting that we trade AJ Brown?
People
suggesting?
So Jack Fritz.
AJ.
I've heard him say it, and I've heard a few other people say it, so I'm lumping them all together. But we can put Fritz in there.
That dude's a clown, by the way. That dude is a total clown.
So my thing with Jack Fritz is similar to my thing with Nick Wright. When he sticks to specific topics,
he won't let it go.
We're good. But once you venture into other topics that you have no right discussing, you are the dumbest person on God's green earth.
Yeah, because he tries to be the
and whatever other planet you want to choose.
Yeah, if it's not Phillies baseball,
if it's not baseball, you're dumb as dirt. Okay, like Fritz is also in on. Well, Belichick, you got to do everything. You got to do this.
Yeah. I'm like I said in our group chat. Like I need to be blown away.
Yeah, I had.
Unless I'm swapping.
If it's the trade I suggested in our group chat, then I'll do it.
Unless I'm swapping AJ Brown for Marvin Harrison Jr., I'm good, dog.
No. Here's what I said in our group chat. I don't know. I'm not sure PY if you saw it. And for the record, it's a $42 million cap hit if we do trade AJ Brown this year.
That's the other part. That's the other part.
That's the other thing. But no one's talking about that. Everyone's leaving that part out. But
if we were doing 5 people who were right, Les Bowen would probably be number 1.
Cap things aside, if this trade came up to your desk, Denver Broncos call, we'll give you Patrick Surtain and a first-round pick for AJ Brown.
No.
You're insane. I would do that in a second.
I don't.
I would do that.
That's tough.
I like Surtain a lot.
It's tough.
I would not.
It is tough, but
he's the best corner in the game.
In football, yeah. Exactly.
I think
there's no. Let me ask you, who's wide receiver 2?
If there are no cap implications, we're not talking about money. If it's like you're putting that aside,
just a straight up trade,
I would do it. I would do AJ Brown for Patrick Surtain and a first.
You're getting the first back and Patrick Surtain.
Yeah.
Yeah,
that's for AJ Brown. I would do it
because technically you're getting 2 because you're getting Patrick Surtain. So I mean,
look what Tom said.
That's right. I will too. We'll go on a road trip. If that actually did happen, I would. Oh my god!
You know what you also be getting along with Patrick Surtain?
What?
High altitude sickness from all that driving up there.
Yeah, probably.
Dude, it's not. Oh god, that's like
it's tough.
It's so draft another receiver. I'm good. That'd be a heck of a sight, actually. I would pay to see that. I would love to see
that. You'd be dead halfway there, sir.
And Tom will get halfway down his street and his back would.
That's right where I'm at. Like this.
That's where I'm at with it. Yeah, I don't want to trade him either. But
I don't. No.
Yeah, you can't
pass
that up.
No shot.
You can't pass that up. You can't.
No.
But that's not going to happen because we're not. There's no way they would offer that, and there's no way financially we can.
And then the implications for them, they got above average elite production at a rookie contract price. Like it's not.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
Not going to happen.
So PY again is alone on that.
Number 1.
Okay, I'm all fine being a Revis Island or PY Island.
Wow.
Sometimes it's an island of one, but you know what? It's okay.
That's what
It's such a jackass.
No, we're not doing that. Too many comments coming in at one time. I'm talking about back when I was thinking about it.
Your back, your hips, your tries, your delts, your chest, like literally everything.
falls apart. Everything falls apart.
Hold on. I gotta put this one up before you go.
No.
Like what is this? What are you doing?
No.
The only way I would do that is you got to take your first, next year's first, and you got to come over with Caleb Williams or Drake May. That's the only way. That's it. That's the only way you do that.
The only way I'm trading him is if the Chiefs are like, "Hey, you want Patrick Mahomes? There you go. I'm good." Like,
or CJ Stroud. I think CJ Stroud.
nah.
I would take CJ Stroud.
Oh, I'd gladly take CJ Stroud.
Number one.
Yeah.
Andy Reid apologist.
What?
Intriguing.
So I have no. Let me explain.
Okay, go ahead.
You have the floor, sir.
Go ahead.
So after we're out of the playoffs and Andy Reid's success and everything this season right now, all I've been hearing in the last week or so is like, see, this just shows you we never should have got rid of Andy. All of this is because we got rid of Andy. And I'm like, Andy Reid in Kansas City has been phenomenal. But let me just let's paint a picture. From 2009 to 2017, he had like a combined 2 playoff wins. Even his success in Kansas City was not that great because he had 2 wins in Kansas City, but he also had 2 blown games against Indy and Tennessee where they had a double-digit lead in both games, and they sucked. Patrick Mahomes, like Andy Reid was always going to be a Hall of Fame head coach, but Patrick Mahomes put him on completely changed the narrative when it came to Andy Reid. Because the second he got Patrick Mahomes, everything, sky's the limit. You're walking on water, essentially. Like this assumption that everything was just perfect when we had Andy Reid. Meanwhile, the losers at WIP spent 20 years trying to get his ass fired. Like, are we serious? Everyone who's talking about, we never should have gotten rid of Andy. Really? You were a part of those losers in the Dirty 30 who are calling up every week asking for his job. Like move on. Like, seriously. Like, it's just done. Like,
well, the thing is, too, people tend to neglect the fact that, like, it was kind of like just time because there was a lot of things going on at that time.
Yeah. It was time.
Like it's not just like we were going to keep Andy. Like people forget things were bad that last year.
He was a mess of a person at that time due to everything.
His son passed away.
I went to a job fair once, and there's a guy there who I went to a few times. He always tells the story to where after Andy was done in Philly, he was going to take some time off, but he went down to Kansas City just for an interview, and they talked about just how everything was just changing, and it was just such a good pitch that he said yes. Like it was just time. It was just time. Like I understand. Yeah, he was burnt out. Like
he totally was.
Crisp, okay, like he had Juan Castillo as defensive coordinator. Like come on now. Like that tells you. Like when your O-line, when the guy who has a history with O-line or DC is teaching O-line, like this is a problem here. Like. Like, I get it. Like, he's super successful in Kansas City now. I understand that. But if you think it's anything other than the fact that Patrick Mahomes is the greatest quarterback in the game right now, I don't know what to tell you. Like, he's a phenomenal play caller. He's a great coach.
I don't know any system that Patrick Mahomes would not have success in.
I said it in 2017 when he was drafted, Pete. I'm like, this is the perfect situation for Pat, for the type of quarterback that he was that came out of Texas Tech. It was the perfect situation, and now Andy's getting the fruits of his labor. And also, go back to the people that wanted Cliff Kingsbury. Cliff was there at Texas Tech with Pat. Didn't do as well with Pat. Just throwing that out there.
I think when it comes to situation with Mahomes, it was Mahomes would succeed in any scheme. I don't think Mahomes would have had the same route to success with any situation. I think that what the Chiefs and Andy Reid did was give him a good situation where he could grow and develop. I think once he grew and developed, yeah, he could. It doesn't matter if you're running Kyle Shanahan's offense, if you're running Cliff Kingsbury's, if you're running Andy Reid's West Coast. It doesn't matter. Like if you're running, run and gun, run and shoot offense. It doesn't matter what scheme he would be. He'd be successful in it. But in order to get to that point, you needed a coach that was going to help develop him. Like I can name a bunch of coaches that wouldn't be able to do that, because you have to remember Andy Reid early in Mahomes' career gave Mahomes the green light to play the way he wanted to. Like he was like, I remember this line, I forget who said it, but Reid told Mahomes that the first 2 seconds are mine. After that, that's yours. So that line is saying, like, for the first 2 seconds of the play, I need you to execute the offense the way that I want it to be executed. Once it reaches past that, then you do you. And not a lot of coaches would be able to do something like that. So to the other point I was going to say, like, I think, like, when I'm thinking about it, I'm like, okay, how many coaches, who are the greatest NFL coaches in NFL history? We think about Bill Belichick. Who did he have? He had Tom Brady. Who did Shula have? Dan Marino. Dan Marino. Who did Bill Walsh have? Joe Montana. And
Dan Marino is a bad one because they never won a Super Bowl. I'm just saying.
But he was.
But they were always good.
But they were always like Dan Marino. I think I've never put that against Dan Marino. I think
no, at all. I'm just saying.
So I think it just kind of goes to show that when it comes to the greatest coaches,
there's always a QB tied to him.
You have to have a quarterback. You have to. There's no way. You have to have a quarterback. Like, so I think that's and I'm not saying this is UPY. I'm just saying, like, you can't take or dismiss from Andy just because he has Patrick Mahomes. You can't.
No, I'm not taking it away. But
I know. That's why I said
right now. It's because he has.
I just freaking said. I'm not saying you said that. I'm saying, like, in general, I know people want to take away from Andy Reid, or they want to say, so you can't do any of that. That's just how it applies to all coaches. They have to have a QB because it's a players' league. So, that's you can't take away from what Andy has done. I think Andy is a great Hall of Fame coach, regardless. I think what Mahomes does was be able to say, okay, now we're able to have the conversation of Andy Reid is now in the conversation of greatest of all time. Whereas before it was like, he's one of them. You know what I mean? So.
My bad, Sweeps. My bad. I just had to remind you. Just say. My apologies. Stray. You called a stray. I'm sorry.
Yeah. Love you, Sweeps.
Of course. Always. This has been a great show. Cathartic. Get it out there. Looking forward to the Super Bowl from a football matchup. We'll all watch because as much as we can sit here and say that a matchup is mad, we all want to see a good game. I think the matchup is good. I don't know. I expect the Chiefs to win. They're not the most talented team out of the two. They're just playing the best football right now.
Yep.
And they have the best player in the game. So that also
he hasn't seen any defense like the Chiefs defense.
We'll get into it next week. We have a lot to get into next week. So we'll touch it.
Thank you for rocking with us, boys. The fam, for myself, OGP, Jake, PY, Chuck's over there. A2D Wednesday night tomorrow. Once again, before I leave here, I know we all love people watching. You can go watch the replays, go watch our reels anywhere. Hit that like, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube. The shorts, they're big. But we also have audio podcasts. I know some of them may not convey because you can't see us, but trust me, we want to make sure our voice gets out there. So go give us a like and a follow, 5-star rating on all our podcast platforms, Spreaker, SoundCloud, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube Podcasts, because I think Google Podcasts went away. So, but for everyone here, we love y'all. We out. This piece.